Hi guys, it's Granny Tana speaking. Welcome to this FS25 tutorial video. In this video I'll show you how you can use Slurry. And you can call it Slurry or liquid manure. Both is working and means more or less the same stuff. And you can get the slurry from cows or from pigs. And as it works more or less the same from cows or pigs, I just show it to you when we get it from the cows. Okay, here I have a cow barn with quite a lot of cows, and they had perfect food for 2 months, and they produced not only milk but also slurry. And in this kind of cow barn, it's really easy to get the slurry, because here we have a pre-installed slurry tank in the ground, and through this pipe you can get the slurry. But the storage space of this slurry is not so big. So if you want to have a bigger slurry tank, you can add one. So let's go into the build menu with Shift and P, and the slurry extensions are here where the silos are. You have one liquid manure extension, a small one with 500,000 liter, and one with 2,600,000 liters. And yeah, you might ask, why don't we use the liquid manure tank in the silo area? Because it doesn't work. So for this kind of barn, you need one of those, and you have to place it rather close to the barn. So if it's far away, it says, okay, it's too far away. And yeah, this works for those expensive Hermann cow barns and pig barns. But what to do if you have one of those cheaper cow barns, like those, and you want to have slurry? This is not so easy because they don't have a built-in slurry tank. So if you have one of those two, and for the pigs it's the same, then you can produce slurry, but you need to buy 2 of those slurry tanks. One of those, a liquid manure tank, and here you can see this has this pipe where you can get it. And this is of no use at all for those expensive cow barns. So you can just forget about it. But for the cheap cow barns, you need one of those. It's a little bit confusing, I must admit. And even if this has a capacity on its own, it doesn't work alone. If you have the cheap cow barn and this, it doesn't work. You don't get liquid manure. You also need one of those. So to make slurry working with the cheap barns, you need 2 of those. One extension and one tank. And yeah, you can decide for yourself whether it is nice to have a cheap barn and then pay a lot of money and need a lot of place for those liquid manure tanks. So I personally would use such a cow barn or pig barn if I want to work with slurry, because like that it's easier. Okay, so here we are, how to use this slurry. Like that, it's just in the ground, in the tank, and you can't make use of it. By the way, You use slurry to fertilize your fields. You could also sell it to a BGA, but the normal use is to fertilize the field. And if you have much more slurry than you can bring onto your fields, then you can sell it. You don't get much money, but better a little money than no money at all. Okay, now we go and buy a slurry tank. We go to the shop and it's further down. It is here where you find the yield improvements, and we have 3 categories for slurry. Those are the slurry tankers, the slurry tools, and the slurry transport. This slurry transport is just for transporting the slurry. For example, if you want to sell it to the BGA, then you could use this, for example. But you can't bring the slurry onto the field with those. Then we have the slurry tankers, and they work quite different. And each one is working a little bit different. This here, this small and cheapest one, works just on its own, without additional appliances. And when you just start and you have small fields, I would suggest you buy this because it's easy. And so we just buy this. And if you are more advanced and you know what you want to do, then you can go here to the more expensive slurry tanks. For example, this one. This also works on its own because it has this thingy. In Germany it's called Schleppschuh. It is like a pull behind shoe, would be the direct translation. And this is quite common in Europe. And then the slurry is brought onto the ground without flying through the air. And this is more, it doesn't smell so much if you use this. This is quite easy to use because you have everything together. Here, the next ones, this, and this, they are a little bit more difficult because you need additional machinery. Let's have a look at that one. Here, you don't have the machinery to bring it onto the field with this. We buy it. And then we look in the combinations area. This is rather important here with the slurry tankers, because every slurry tanker has different appliances that work. Here we have 3 different kinds. This Vibro is not only slurry distributor, but also a cultivator. And if you use it, your field is not only fertilized, but cultivated. So, and we buy it. And here is more or less the same, looks a little bit different. This is more like a disc harrow, but the effect is the same. And then we have this, oh, it's just called slurry distributor. And Schleppschuh is funnier. So, and this has a wider range working with, but it doesn't cultivate. But we still buy it because I want to show it to you. And with the others here, you can, not here, but here in the combinations area, you can always see which distributors work with this slurry tank. because it's different. Here, this is a rather big one. And you have those two as well. And this here, you have two special machines. This one that we already know, and then a special machine. And this is self-propelled. And you can switch it from slurry to manure. Yeah, and quite expensive. So I think we have enough with those two machines, or two slurry tanks and two distributors. So first we start with the simple one. And yeah, I should say that those were the base game models, and in different DLCs or mods you could have a different method of distributing the slurry. And in the Plains and Prairies pack we had a more American model how to distribute a slurry to the field. And so then it looks different, and you need other machinery on top or not. As far as I remember, it was working on its own without additional machinery, what we had in the Plains and Prairies pack. And there could be other method in future DLCs or mods also. So we just go here and I press R. I open the help menu. Then you can see what letter you need to press or what button. On the console you have a different button than on the PC. So here it says slurry. Yes, I want to have slurry. And I just fill it up. Okay. And we go there, and then I have to show you two different things that are interesting. Here in the help menu, you can see the entry activate doubled application rate. Usually, if you fertilize without precision farming, so just with the base game, you need to fertilize 2 times to have it fully fertilized. But with slurry and manure, you can make those 2 fertilizing drive on the fields into 1, because you can double the application rate, which is quite nice, and it is an advantage from the slurry above the other fertilizer. And there is another thing that you should know. We go into the menu here in the settings area, where we have the AI workers refill options. Maybe you know this already. If it's set to buy, then the helper always buy the fertilizer or fuel or seeds that he needs. So from it, if you have start with 1,000 liters of fertilizer, it never goes down, and you pay for every fertilizer that the helper uses, and you pay a little bit more than if you would refill your fertilizer tank yourself. And a similar mechanism applies to the slurry and manure. So here we have set it on buy, and you can have something special that doesn't work with the fertilizer and seeds and fuel, obviously. If you set it on cow barn, the slurry is taken from the cow barn. Always. The AI helper takes it from the cow barn. But only the AI helper. If you drive yourself, you use the slurry that is inside the tank. But for AI work, it's quite useful, especially if you have a bigger field and it's further away from the cow barn. Then it would be a lot of driving back and forth to always refill it from the barn, and like that is transferred automatically through thin air. And yes, this is unrealistic. And so you can decide whether you want to have it easier, then it's a little bit unrealistic, but you don't have to pay more because it uses your own slurry. And the other method would be off. Then the helper doesn't buy from the market and just uses the slurry that is in the tank, and that would be the realistic setting. Okay, so now let's go to work. This one we just have to activate, and here you can see it how it spreads the slurry. Usually you should start when you are already on a field, but it's easier to see when it's on the asphalt. And here you can see how it's a little bit shiny and glossy where you have fertilized with the slurry. So let's have a look how it is on the map. When you turn it like that, it just looks a tiny little bit greener. And here on the map, we can go here and we see it's fertilized. Okay, so that was that one. And now we try the others. The other tank and the other distributors, because the effect is different from both of those. So okay, you have to attach that at the back. Good. And we get some slurry. Okay. And now we unfold it with X on PC. And as you can see, the working width is not so big. But the advantage is you don't need to cultivate afterwards. So now we turn it on and we lower it. And here you have to have a look at the left side at the top. There you can see we have two of those green quarter circles, and the one that is closer to the tractor is the tank itself, and the one in the back is the distributor. And you need to have this distributor activated to be able to lower it. And if it's not the bright, I switch from one to the other, and you can see that the bright color is switching. And only when the last one is shining or brighter, then you can lower it. Okay, and now we start working. And here you see a lot of dust, and not this shiny texture, but we can see the cultivating texture, because it's distributing slurry and cultivating in one go, which is an advantage, but you don't have a lot of working with. So I deactivate this, and we have a look at the menu. Here we can see, okay, it's fertilized and also it's cultivated. So, and now we get this other one that doesn't cultivate but has a wide working width. The one that I call Schleppschuh. I really like this word. So, it's a little bit difficult to drive inside, but if you're good at driving, you won't have a problem. So, let's connect it, and then we choose the other field, because we have quite a working width. Like so. And now we unfold it. And by the way, if I would use this on the other field that we used before, where we already used the slurry tank, it wouldn't fertilize another time, because between two fertilizing rounds you need to have something different. So either crops that are growing or putting lime on top of this, but it should be a different thing and it should look differently. So therefore, if you want to have the full power fertilizing with slurry, you should activate the doubled application rate. Maybe I just do it, then we can see the difference on the map. We don't see the difference on the field. It just looks the same. So here we have this nice working width unfolded, and we activate it with B, and we put it down. And the same rule with the last one has to be the active one, applies with this one. And here we go. And you don't see the slurry itself. So this is rather different to the first one, but you see the slurry on the field, how it's glossy. Yeah, and it smells less. So now, because we use the double application rate, it's already empty. You need quite a lot of slurry to fertilize your fields. And therefore, if the field is a little bit bigger and further away, and you don't want to drive back and forth every few minutes, then this option with the helper getting from the cow barn is useful, but not if you drive yourself. If you drive yourself, you just need to buy a bigger slurry tank, or to have an additional slurry transporter that is placed beside the field. That's another option. Okay, let's have a look. Here we can see we have the double amount, the dark blue of the fertilizing, and yeah, it was already cultivated, so we don't see a difference. But we didn't see those dusting from the cultivation. And Here you can see a nice difference. This is the normal ground, and here we see at the left side we have this slightly greenish tone, and the right side didn't got slurry. And here we have this, and the texture looks the same but more greenish. And when we look against the sun, we can see this glossy effect. Okay, and that's about Slurry in the base game from FS25. Thank you for your support as a Ruby channel member. If you want to buy FS25 or a DLC, feel free to use my code OMATANA. You'll find the link for the PC version in the video description. It doesn't cost you anything extra and supports me a lot. Now I wish you a wonderful day, thank you for watching, and all the best till next time. Tschüss!